The Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association presents Freshman Focus. A look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by Eldorado Scioto Downs, now racing Tuesday through Saturday, post time 5:45. By Sugar Valley Farm, looking for your next quality standard-bred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. And by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. And now here's your host, Roger Houston.
Welcome to another edition of Freshman Focus. We're in Radnor, Ohio at the farm of Chris Beaver. And after this message, we'll sit down and talk with Chris Beaver about his Ohio 2-year-olds in training. Welcome back to Freshman Focus. We're here with Chris Beaver today. And Chris, start right off. You've been a busy man of late.
Oh, well, at least I've got some help to help me get it done. Yeah.
You went to, Plain Ridge the other day?
Yeah, we raced in the Battle of Bunker Hill there last Thursday.
Why did you go up to Plain Ridge?
There's a large gap in the Ohio Sire Stakes. Spanzano, he had 5 or 6 par mutual wins, and I don't want to throw him in the open. And I'd known the race, and it's not a really tough race. The only thing that really bothered me was the ship.
Yeah. Now, Aaron went up to drive, but he got stuck in traffic, and he didn't even get there in time to warm him up, but he did get there to drive.
Yeah. I didn't actually go myself because I knew the horse was good and he's an easy horse to deal with, and Aaron was planning to warm him up, but as it turned out, somebody else had to, and Aaron showed up one race out, but made it, so that was fortunate. Yeah.
Now, looks like you've cut back on your 2-year-olds this year.
I have a number of reasons, but I mean, one of them is help, of course. It's hard to find enough help. I also I think there's really 2 types of trotters. There's some that are very easy to train and anybody can train them, and there's also horses that if you can spend the time on them and concentrate, you can make a lot more money with them. I own them myself, a lot of them, and I'd rather be able to concentrate on my horses, spend time on them, and get the best out of them. So having a huge stables of trotters isn't really what I was looking for.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the help situation. It all came with COVID, and that started, it seemed to be. Do you have trouble keeping employees today? Has the attitude changed to people, or what's the big problem?
There seemed to be a shortage of people interested in doing this kind of work out there anymore. Of course, if you pay people really well, you can keep people. I've got a number of employees that have been around for a while, so we try to pay well. But in the end, it's a tougher environment for an employer than it used to be.
Now you got your own training track here at right at about a half mile, and have you started taking your 2-year-olds to Delaware for their final trip yet?
Oh yeah, I trained a lot different this year. I had all my horses in Florida for the winter, and I had trained them in 2.7, 2.8 last month before I shipped home. Like by the end of April, most of them have been in 2.7, 2.8. It took me a little while to get everything situated when I got home, but I've been up to Delaware a few times, and we trained a number of them around 2.5 in the last few days. So.
Now, when you were Spring Garden, you said you took your whole stable, but you didn't bring them all back together. You brought the 3-year-olds back first?
Yeah, I did have a group of race horses up here through the winter with some of my help. I had like 7 or 8 horses racing. And then I moved my 3-year-olds that were ready up around the 1st of April. I kept my 2-year-olds down there till the 1st of May. The track down there, it was a little wet through most of the winter. The month of April, it was fantastic, so I didn't think it was a good idea to move my 2-year-olds and not take advantage of the racetrack when it was good.
Looks like you've cut back your operation number of horses, but you only have foals of Ohio and Kentucky eligible?
Yep, that was also, that was based on, the help situation, as well as, me wanting to stay closer to home, have a little more free time myself too, as opposed to running to 5 different states to race, and to me, Ohio and Kentucky are the absolute best now, as far as sire stake programs. So,
are these horses dual eligible, or?
I have several Ohio breds that are also Kentucky eligible, but I also have few that are Jersey and Kentucky. But I'm not interested in going to Jersey. I'm more interested in the Kentucky program. I also have some chimpanzees and Centurion ATMs, and they're strictly Kentucky eligible.
Yeah. Now, I notice in the 10 we're going to look at today, you've got a pacer.
Yeah, I have 2 pacers. Yeah.
Is there much difference in training the pacers compared to the trotters?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't hardly ever have to sit behind a pacer when I train it. I can watch it and I know it's coming along all right. So 9 times out of 10, a trotter will give you more problems.
Yeah. So. Your parents, Charlie and his wife, they still in Florida and active helping you?
Oh no, he helps me all winter. He's got some of his own up there in the winter, but then they take the summer off. But this year I've been breeding a lot of mares and raising foals, and I sent my yearlings on down to him to spend the summer there in Florida, and they've got more room to run down there, so he's looking after them for me right now.
You have a mixture of stallions, but got some triumphant caviars again.
Yeah, the same horses I used to spend $25,000 or on or so whatever, they're bringing $150,000 now. I mean, triumphant caviars are really hard to buy at the sales. I've managed to buy a few. I've raised a few. I've bought a few privately, but it's hard to lay my hands on them anymore. I used to have a whole barn full of them, but I only started with 5 of them this year.
Well, thank you, Chris, for sitting down and talking with us about your stable operation and such. And after this message, we'll return and go through the barn and take a close-up look at the Ohio breds in training for Freshman Focus.
Racing is back at El Dorado Scioto Downs. Catch the excitement all summer long. Live racing every Tuesday through Saturday nights. First race post time is 5:45. Mark your calendar to see the future stars with a $150,000 Next Generation July 6th. Thrilling harness racing at El Dorado Scioto Downs. One track, 90 racing days, 100% action. Horse players can earn points with the new Caesars Reward Program. El Dorado Scioto Downs. Racing returns May 9th.
At Ohio State's Galbraith Equine Center, our veterinary champions are here for your champions 24/7, 365 days a year. Our expert team of boarded surgeons, sports medicine and rehabilitation specialists, together with veterinary cardiologists, internal medicine, and ophthalmologists, make our hospital your best resource for all sport horse performance issues. The Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center's Galbraith Equine Hospital. Call us today at 614-292-6661.
Welcome back to Freshman Focus as we go through the barn with Chris to check out his 2-year-olds in training. We'll start off with Grooved Pavement, a 2-year-old trotting colt by Long Tom out of Lady Glider by Glide Master. Nice sized trotter.
Yeah, he's been training good so far. Yeah.
When you go to the sales, do you look ones that are rather big to begin with?
Not necessarily. more concerned that they have a decent body on them. You know, I'll buy big or small as long as they've got some body to them. I don't like a frail horse.
Does it make a difference on the horse's size the way you train them?
You have to be a little more careful with a bigger, heavier horse, you know, but, you know, I'm not, I try to buy horses that I think I can train with my others,
Yeah.
you know.
I think you said down south you'd been in what, 5 or 7?
2.7, 2.8 in the south. I've been back in 2.5 here.
2.5 here, and that was
Yeah.
at Delaware?
Yeah.
Looking for what, the first 2 weeks of June or a little later?
I haven't decided when I'll qualify yet. I'm probably going to come back one good mile before I qualify, and they are having them at Delaware like the 18th of June, I believe.
Yeah. 18th and the 25th,
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
Now, will you qualify them twice before you go to the races? or-
Most likely, yeah.
Will you take one of those trips and go down to Scioto to qualify as well?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
You put a lot of miles on a truck, don't you?
Oh yeah.
How many miles does stable use in a year, probably? Or yourself, let's go.
Myself, I probably drive 45, 50,000 miles a year. Yeah.
Well, you keep going, you might catch up with him. Merriman, I talked to him. I think
I'll never catch him.
I think his number was 80 to 85,000 miles.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to slow down. I don't think he is.
Now, trotting hobbles. You're known for trotting hobbles, supposedly, here in Ohio. They all got hobbles on?
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easier to train them with the hobbles at the beginning?
I go most of the way without them, you know. My big thing, and you know, honestly, my Kentucky breds, most of them are not wearing hobbles, but it's more, the hobbles for me are the style of racing in Ohio. You know, I need them to be sure-footed, you know, be able to, you know, go into the turns and, you know, keep driving on and, you know, not make mistakes. So I think it just makes the horse more confident, you know.
Is that because of the half-mile tracks at the fairs, or
I think it's
even in Scioto?
I think it's the small tracks, and I think it's the style of racing. You know, it's a lot more. You know, you can't just wait and finish in Ohio. You have to be in it.
And you're not driving.
Nope, I'm not driving.
So the catch drivers, they go.
Yeah.
This is the Trotter Groove Pavement by Long Tom. This is the filly Trotter Fervor by What the Hill out of Kestrel by Triumphant Caviar. Choice of fillies and colts, geldings. I mean, you try to find a good mixture of your stable.
I try to have as close to half and half as possible. I always seem to end up with more fillies though.
Yeah, fillies race for just about as much money.
Yeah, that's the same. But you know, I'd like to have the same of both. Yeah.
And you want horses eligible everywhere you go, almost, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Will you drive them in the qualifiers?
Yeah, I do a lot of the driving in the qualifiers.
Is there much difference when you're training a young horse from training miles to actually getting into race situations with qualities?
I think that qualifiers you're still handling them a little bit like they're in training miles, you know. So there's less likely to be a mistake made, you know. I think once they get into a race situation, it's a little different, you know.
Now you train your horses in 3 or 4 to a set, but qualifiers you may have 8, maybe even 9 in there. So it's almost a race experience. And I was wondering, do the horses realize that's my point?
Yeah, I think they see the difference. It seems like they jump up and go a little faster than when you qualify them.
How's this filly been?
She's been good. She's a little aggressive. She's out of a good mare I had named Kestrel. But, she was 2-year-old trotting filly of the year in Ohio.
Now, do you change equipment to get them out of that habit?
I've been trying to calm her down a bit, you know, and I think she was a little better yesterday when we trained.
So what'd you do to calm her down?
Well, I started out opening her up and by covering her ears so she couldn't hear, that kind of stuff basically. But yesterday we put a Crit Davis in her mouth, and you know, she likes to get her head down, so that helped us hold her a little bit.
This is the filly Fervor out of by What the Hill. This is the filly pacer Judge Me Again by Western Vintage out of Naked at the Beach by Some Beach Somewhere. Filly pacer, your other pacer, is it a filly or a colt?
I have a colt.
Colt. Another one with real good size.
Yeah, I like the body type on this horse
Yeah.
a lot when I bought her.
See, when that horse is the same height as you in the stall, pretty good judgment there. Got a lot of white on him. You don't have any superstitions, though, do you?
No, none.
How's she been training?
Really good. You know, I haven't had to do much with her. She goes right on.
Now, has she gone faster than the trotters?
No, we've just trained her in 2.5 as well.
Yeah. So no matter whether they're fillies or colts, geldings, try to keep them all about the same.
Yeah. You know, I'll have some. I do have, you know, some horses that are a little bit behind the others, you know, for one reason or another. But you know, most of them have been the same mile.
Now, you say for one reason or another, will they eventually catch up?
Yeah, well, yeah, they will. You know, as long as we don't have any soundness problems along the way.
Will they be ready for the 1st of June?
Everything I have right now, I can see being ready for the 1st of July anyway for the races.
Oh, so maybe no racing in June, just the qualies then?
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't have any stakes in June anyway, so you know.
I think the first 2-year-old stakes in Pennsylvania is something like June the 12th. What about Ohio? You remember the date?
The next generation's the first week of July, and then sire stakes the following week.
You got horses for the next generation?
I hope so. I bought a colt and filly slot on the trotting side. So.
Not the pacers, though.
No.
Pacers really go, don't they?
Oh yeah, and it's, you know, the reason I don't have that many is I find it really hard to find any value when I'm buying them, you know, whereas with the trotters I can find value, but the pacers, you know, everybody's after them and it's harder to buy them. So.
This is the filly pacer Judge Me Again by Western Vintage. This is the gelding Caviar Creek by Triumphant Caviar, Boxcars by Man of Many Missions. Typical Triumphant Caviar?
Yeah, he's been pretty typical. You know, he wasn't very ambitious in the beginning. You know, he wears trotting hobbles and he has for a while. Closer we get to racing, the better he gets. That's been the way they've been for me for all these years. You know.
The ones we've looked at so far have been pretty good size. This one seems on the small side.
Yeah, he's just a medium-sized horse. He's not big.
Yeah. Is he right up with the rest of them?
Oh yeah. He's right there now. You know, he's not the kind of horse you want to cut a mile with, that kind of thing. But he'll go with them wherever they go.
Now, you say he's not the kind of horse you want to cut a mile with him, but do you think that'll change eventually?
It usually does.
Yeah. What makes them change? Just repetition or?
Drivers.
Drivers.
Yeah. When the drivers get on them, you know, and they, you know, the horses know the difference.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So it's the drivers that make that final decision.
And you know, also, you know, coming back at 3, they're always different. You know, maturity makes a difference too. But you know, I've had a number of horses that, you know, that you get some that you can cut the miles with and will do the work on the front, and others that just want to follow. But most of them will learn to do the work once you get a catch driver on them, especially like Aaron can wake a horse up, like, you know.
How did you come to start using Aaron Merriman, going back to the get-go?
I don't even remember how we got started. It's been a while, 7 or 8 years he's been driving most of my horses.
It seems like he'll go anywhere you want him to go.
Yeah, he's good that way, yeah.
You need that dependability from a driver, don't you?
Yeah, you know, and it doesn't hurt that he wins a lot of races, and, you know, he always puts them in position to win, you know, so when I can use him, I do.
Do you have to tell him much about the horses, or do you just hand him the lines?
He usually knows them because, you know, he'll come down and qualify him at Delaware, or, you know, if he doesn't, you know, then I talk to him about the horses, you know, but he almost always handles them the same way. Usually he's got them right up on the gate, you know, and they learn to just get behind the gate and stay on it, you know. So
You think that you really feel that Aaron Merriman's a pretty good trot driver, don't you?
Yeah, he will. I honestly think he does have good trotting hands. Like he keep them together when a lot of guys won't. You know.
Yeah. This is Caviar Creek, a gelding by Triumphant Caviar. This is the gelding trotter Chill Hill by What the Hill out of Miss Pollyanna by Chip Chip Hooray. We looked at the other What the Hill, Fervor. Is Chill Hill any different?
Oh, yeah, he's a lot different than her. He's a lot more relaxed, you know. He does remind me of he's a full brother to filly Roxana that I have that was really good in the Sire Stakes last year, and he's a lot like she was.
Horses in the stall, are their actions in the stall carry out to the racetrack?
I don't see it so much. You know?
You don't have to put balls or stuff like that or goats in with the horses?
Well, you get some that are wild in the stall, you know, but that doesn't mean they will be on the track. Some studs can bounce around in the stall and they'll go out and jog loose line. So.
Is this a gelding for a reason, or?
I gelded him early because he was a little rowdy, and you know, if he wasn't a What the Hill, maybe I would have waited longer. But you know, one thing about him, you don't like him to get a lot of weight on him. What the Hills, I'd rather keep him lean and keep him calm. You know, they just they don't do well when they get heavy. That's my opinion.
So did he give you signs that he could have been that heavier horse? And
I think all the What the Hills are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're built that way. So I like, you know, the good What the Hills that I've had been geldings, you know, or fillies. So you know, I just stay away from them as studs. You know.
When you train your miles, do you go with different horses? Maybe the first trip from the second trip, or
I spread myself around as much as possible. Yeah, when I'm training. Yeah.
Now, when you're training, do you cut the mile, or you like to see the horses in front of you?
I would say I cut the mile 80% of the time.
So you depend on the second trainers to tell you if they're doing something wrong.
I'm a little bit of a control freak when it comes to, you know, how fast we're going. I don't like them to drop them a whole lot all at once or any of that kind of thing. So.
Carry a stopwatch?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, some trainers, I remember a guy by the name of Mark Ferguson, he never carried a watch.
Yeah, it seems dangerous to me.
You want total control and know exactly.
Right.
Okay. This is the gelding trotter Chill Hill by What the Hill. This is the filly trotter Mega Money by Triumphant Caviar out of Lotto Winner by Credit Winner. Another Triumphant Caviar.
Yeah, this is a full sister to Winning Ticket. Yeah.
Now, is this homebred?
No, we purchased her privately from the breeder. Yeah.
Any traits similar to?
Yeah, she trained down a lot like him, you know, and she really didn't train that good, you know. She's bad gaited. He was too, you know. It's just very typical of Triumphant Caviars. A lot of them, you know, they don't train down good. A lot of mine haven't, you know, but when they get to a speed under, you know, 29 seconds, like a high speed, then they really smooth out. And he was the same way when he was a 3-year-old and older horse. At high speed, he was smooth as silk, but he always had to work through the slow gears, you know.
You have a lot of trotters. Do you have a lot of patience?
I would say I must, yeah. And I've got a wife with monkeys too, so yeah, I got patience.
I don't know where to go now. Brought in the monkeys. Pretty soon you'll have monkeys working, cooling out horses, or
if I could, I would.
Oh, Chris. Been with the others though on time-wise?
Oh yeah, you know, you never would have thought she would, you know, like she just wasn't that interested all along, but you know, we trained her in 2.5 yesterday and she was right on top of them, you know. Then that's I can tell you Gabby C Note, as good a filly as she was, and when she was training down at 2, she was, I mean, it was probably April before she broke 240. She just, it's just they hit that gear and then off they go.
Yeah. And that's what you really want, isn't it?
Yep. Yep.
They're not hard on themselves.
Right. Right.
That's a good way.
Yeah.
This is the filly Mega Money by Triumphant Caviar. This is the colt trotter Jars Shinin' by Uncle Peter out of Reinvent by Malabar Man. Seems like I remember the mare Reinvent.
It's been a while back, yeah.
So this is a full brother? Or?
Yeah, this is a full brother to Refined. I had bought the mare before in full, or I bought the mare before she had Refined, and then we bred her back to Uncle Peter after that filly started racing.
I see you've got, at least of the 10 we're looking at today, you got 2 Uncle Peters. A lot of people say Uncle Peters can be a bit tough to break and train.
I don't think they're tough to train per se. They're good gated for the most part. They just they'll hit a point where they struggle. That seems to be a common element with them. They're not real tough horses, and what I've found with Sons of Cantab Hall as sires, you have to accept that a lot of them just aren't going to be very good. But when you get a good one, they're very fast. So.
Who's more important, the sire or the dam?
Oh, by far the dam. There's no question.
So that's the first thing you look at, is who the dam of the possible one you're going to get.
Yeah, you look at the maternal, the dam side is what you look at for sure.
Is there a big difference between the mares and the sires when it comes to horses?
Well, I think the mare, you can breed to any sire and get a good horse, if you have the right mare, and what I found is there's some mares, doesn't matter how well bred they are, you just can't get a good foal by them, and it's weird how that works, but they can be a full sister to the best brood mare in the world, and they can't throw anything,
So in that respect, that's where the stallions come in.
Right.
This is a colt. Why have you kept him a colt?
He's been pretty good mannered. He's a little high strung, but I kept him stud because of his pedigree and because of the way he's acted so far.
Now, we talked about winning ticket when we were in the other barn. Mm-hmm. Have you got another winning ticket amongst your 2-year-olds?
Oh, it's really hard to say about that right now. I would hope so, but we did cut back,
Yeah.
So, you never know what you got until you start racing them. That's the way I always see it.
Does any particular horse come to your mind that was not a star pupil, that once you got to the races he changed drastically and went on to be pretty good?
Oh, it happens all the time, In one year I had Gabby C Note and Mighty Hill, and they were 2 of the worst training horses in the barn, mm-hmm. and they were 2-year-old colt and 2-year-old filly of the year here in Ohio that year. So you can't really say on the way they're training what they're going to turn out to be.
This is the colt Jars Shinin' by Uncle Peter. This is the colt trotter Scrappy's Love by Long Tom out of Love to Win by Valley Victor. You got a couple Long Toms. Do they show any similarity?
These two do. I've had some in the past, and they haven't been the most durable horses, but these are stronger horses than I've had in the past by a Long Tom.
Now, your other Long Tom is Groove Pavement that we looked at first. Here's Scrappy's Love. Are they about equal, though, on the track?
I would say that I like this one a little more right now. Yeah, he might be, you know, if I was going to say I had a lead candidate for the next generation, it would be this one, I think. He's pretty strong.
Does that mean of your 2-year-old trotters, he's the best, at least at this point of the season?
He seems to be the strongest
Yeah.
training right now. That's what he's showing me right now.
The week before the next generation will be the telltale thing. You'll have to make the call.
Yeah, I'll have 2 qualifiers and everybody, and you know, to me, I own both the slots, so you know, I just decide based on how they look at the time. So.
You never get a spot for the pacers, so you're a trotting guy. This one got trotting hobbles on, or is he clean yet?
He still doesn't have them on yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I thought that, but I just got a funny feeling. I don't know that.
I didn't actually have this horse all winter. Chuck Sylvester did.
Oh.
Yeah, and the owner asked me to take him to Ohio for the summer, so I've only had him for about a month here. But
did you get to see him train when he was at
yeah,
Spring
he
Garden,
looked
though?
good down there. I'd seen him a few times train.
So
yeah.
you knew what you were getting.
Yeah, and I have a half sister to this horse that's racing she's a 4-year-old racing in the Kentucky Sire Stakes down at Oak Grove now.
You mentioned a 4-year-old. Winning tickets 6. Most of the horses you probably sell at the end of the 3-year-old season, so to speak, and keep the others. Is it earning potential keeps you keeping them?
That's the entirety of it, is the earning potential. Yeah.
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 Over your career, how many do you think you've? Well, no, that's too hard a question to ask you, because you wouldn't have that. But you've had a lot of success with the older trotters.
Yeah, we're doing really good with open trotters this year, and you know, we have in the past too. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people say if you get a pacer, you got to go in 55 or 56 to even get a check. That's not the case with the trotters. If you got one that stays flat, good times and stuff like that, you can make a lot of money with the trotters.
Well, maybe, yeah, 2, you know, and it gets harder at 3, but there's still, you know, there's still the fairs and the Stallion Series, you know, for a 55 trotter, you know, you get to the Sire Stakes, you better go 53 now here in Ohio.
This is the colt trotter Scrappy's Love by Long Tom. This is the gelding trotter Uncle Moneybags by Uncle Peter out of Moolah Begonia by Cash Hall. Trying to think, there's a gentleman up in Michigan that has all these Begonia horses, and he probably had this one, took it to the sale, is my guess.
Yeah, I don't know the story behind it, actually.
He names every single horse he has with Begonia in it. Always races at Delaware, it seems like.
Yeah.
This gelding, was he a problem horse?
Yeah, actually, he was distracted all winter long. He was doing it, but he'd make breaks, you know, just looking at things on the track. And tractors he was very scared of the tractors for a long time. Scared of other people's whips and, you know, anything that could distract him. But he made the cut here because he's really come on pretty good here lately.
Trotting hobbles?
Yes.
Did that help him get through those distractions?
It always helps, yeah, when they're like that, yeah.
Good sized trotter. Uncle Moneybags, you think he'll be a money bag?
I think he'll be all right, yeah. Yeah, I think he will.
How do you make the determination, Sire Stake or Buckeye Stallion Series?
I got to see how they qualify, and then I split them up, you know.
You can't determine it right now because they can change week to week.
Yeah, I've had horses train like they're the best thing I ever had, and you know, then they just fizzle out, you know. So you just got to see how they qualify, and you know, I will move horses around after the first leg too, you know. So the first leg is the test, really.
Do you remember your biggest disappointment of all the horses going back a few years even? That you thought was going to be tons of best?
There've been so many I couldn't
Really?
I couldn't pinpoint one. You know, that's the good thing. If you can just forget about those and move on, you know.
It also proves how they changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is he over his problems of being distracted?
Say what?
Is he over his problems of being distracted?
I would say mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly.
You'll find out when they go to the qualifying.
Right. We've had him up at Delaware, and he hasn't been bad up there.
Now,
so, yeah.
did you have this in Florida?
Haven't? Yes, I had him in Florida. Yeah.
Did you put him behind the gate down in Florida?
Yeah.
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 That's nice that they have the gate there, and it's a training center, so
Yeah.
you get their education real early.
Yeah. Plus, we have we start them out on our equicizer here, so it's almost like they're broke to the gate right from the start.
This is the gelding trotter Uncle Moneybags by Uncle Peter. This is the filly trotter Mia Sangria by Muscle Up the Goal out of Evanora by Pilgrim's Taj. Classic trotter for you this year?
Yeah, she's been pretty handy, quick, you know. Been a nice filly to train, you know.
She's riding with the others?
Oh yeah, yeah. She cut the mile yesterday in 2.5. Yeah.
Now that was at Delaware?
Yeah, yeah.
Race bikes?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How long have you been in race bikes?
The last few times I trained in Florida a month ago, they were starting race bikes, so a month. Yeah.
Do horses have trouble getting used to the race bike, or is usually just no problem at all?
Most of the time, there's no issue at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she wants to do the interview.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. This is the filly Mia Sangria by Muscle Up the Goal. That wraps up another edition of Freshman Focus. I'd like to thank Chris Beaver and his second trainers and all the caretakers as well for making it an easy shoot for Freshman Focus. Join us again next week, same time, same location for Freshman Focus.
This has been Freshman Focus, a look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by El Dorado Scioto Downs, now racing Tuesday through Saturday, post time at 5:45. By Sugar Valley Farm, looking for your next quality standardbred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. And by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. Freshman Focus is a presentation of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association.